Welcome back to Taiwan Outlook. Our guest today is Professor Liao Dachi of Political Science at National San-Yese University. Professor Liao, we've been talking about politics inside the KMT, but people are also very concerned about inter-party relationship in Taiwan's politics, especially the shrinking DPP force and also the growing KMT force in Taiwan politics. Are you concerned about the so-called one-party dominance in the legislature?
I think it's really a problem. But right now, because I just went to the legislative meeting I mentioned to you, and also the DPP members really feel very kind of upset. They feel they have no way to influence kind of policy or even agenda setting because they just have 27 members in the legislative yuan divided into 8 committees. They don't have enough members to as a coordinator of each committee and to set up the agenda or propose some policy. So they feel kind of powerless or frustrated. But I think that this kind of situation really relate to our electoral system.
That's right.
We just changed our system from so-called SNTV. I don't know how many people understand that's our kind of political term to a kind of two votes single-member district system. Yeah, but by this current system, the province also will reduce the size of the legislative yuan from 225 to 113. It's kind of a little bit too smaller compared to many other countries. And also the kind of the district redistrict policy is kind of for each county we reserve a seat for each county. So it's not so equal for each kind of district. For example, in Mazhu Xian, Lianjiang County, only about 6,000 people, they can elect one legislator.
That's right.
Yeah, for like Taipei City, the draws into the 8 district, but some district maybe about 40,000, 400,000 people. Yeah, it's a lot of big difference between the district, disproportionate. So it's one problem for this kind of single-member district. And also we use a Japanese style, not the German style. So the Japanese style is we separate the so-called proportional representative system, that you vote for the party and vote according to the proportion you shared from the general votes. Then the party get a seat share, seats. Then the other is for district. But we learned the Japanese separate the system. Also, we have a small proportion for the PR reserve seats. That's kind of counted by the party votes. And German style is you use the party votes. That means like this time DPP got 38% of the party votes. That means he at least guaranteed that DPP can share the 38 seats in the legislative yuan. But right now he's not even to the 1/4 of the legislative yuan. So it's kind of imbalanced if we try to reflect the general public opinions composition. It's not so balanced. So I think the electoral system really need to be kind of deliberatively discussed and invite all parties in the society to figure out and try to reform it.
I think we were talking
there, and also like small party has no chance at all.
That's right.
Yeah, for democracy, from my own opinion, I really feel democracy is kind of pluralistic. You have to invite our kind of even minorities group. So we have several parties should be included. And this time just two. Actually, one party dominant, one small party, because the KMT occupies 2/3. Then the DPP only 1/4. So other small party, only the kind of so-called no party alliance, only 3 seats. It's too imbalanced and not so pluralistic.
But before we change the new electoral system, I think we don't have this kind of check and balance now in the legislature.
Yeah, but you know the problem is still our system, constitutional problem. Because we have I mentioned about this two-head system, our dual executive or so-called semi-presidentialism, whatever the term you used. This kind of system, to a certain extent, is kind of presidential-like. If like you elect the president like current one and also unify the government, the president's will can be realized through the executive and legislative yuan because unify the government. But if you have divided like previously we had the one for the Chen Shui-bian administration, it's so divided, it's so difficult, it's so struggle, so much gridlock. So, but for the unified government, it's really the whole performance of government is similar to a cabinet system. That's a parliamentary system like the British style. That means the whole style, then the legislature or the parliament does not serve a role as a check and balance.
That's right.
Actually, to try to look for efficiency, just like you mentioned, it's a kind of smooth the whole policy process and try to be responsible. What the president promised should be realized in the future, and the legislature should support that. That's a kind of cabinet philosophy. But for our system, it's kind of ambivalent. We have a two-head. And the current president say, okay, I got to serve as a role described by the Constitution. That means he cannot realize what he promised during the campaign. Then the legislative has a mentality as a presidential system. We are not only the committee's member, we also we are legislative yuan, the member. We should check and balance, just like you mentioned. So a lot of struggles. I think the fundamental problem still we have to consider about constitutional reform. But for SAR, it's the current president just elected, Banjo say we won't consider about constitutional reform.
You're absolutely right that in his speech, he said it very clearly that during his term, he will never initiate constitutional reform.
Not that strong, never. But during maybe he won't consider about the constitutional reform during his first term. I don't know. I don't remember the detail whether it's first term or whatever. But he said that didn't consider about the kind of constitutional reform.
But also the threshold for amending the constitution is quite high, right, in Taiwan?
Yeah, it's horribly high. I did a research. It's the highest one. The threshold, in the world, in the whole democratic countries, really? It's number one because we have the kind of double process. The first one, you need to have a constitutional amendment proposal to be passed by the legislative yuan by 3/4. That's very high. Legislators, you need to have 3/4. Then just a kind of a proposal supported by legislative yuan. This constitutional amendment proposal need to go through the referendum, people's referendum. This referendum is also incredible high. That means the whole electorate in Taiwan, that's about 17 million people. The half of 17 million people, 8 million people, 85 million, 8.5 million people need to say yes. Not only go to the booth to vote, need to say yes. That's a highly, almost impossible to have constitutional amendment under this kind of threshold. So I think there's some problem there. We really need to consider about that, and maybe we need to have like the kind of civic association, kind of a conference to talk about this kind of issue.
But to have the constitutional amendment passed, we need a consensus in Taiwan. Do you think that there is a consensus now in Taiwan that this current electoral system has problems?
Right now, I should say no. And also from what I learned, if you want to have a constitutional reform or amendment, you need to have the kind of institutional timing. That's the kind of the open window, the window open up, that people feel, oh, really it's time to reform. The system is really so bad. We cannot work out things through this system. But that kind of institutional timing need to have some kind of special events. Even the French political system, they complain about that. We visit the French, interview scholars there. We ask about whether they want to have a 6th republic. Now they are 5th. They say currently even people complain about that, but a big reform need to have a crisis. Outside crisis. I think also apply to Taiwan situation. You cannot have a constitutional reform just from a kind of during a peaceful time.
That's right.
I think that's a kind of common rules for each country.
But another problem that people are talking about the legislature is about the downsized legislature. Now we have only 113 seats. But the thing is that we have many committees, so there will be only few members of the committees.
Now they already changed the internal rules. Previously have 12 committee, but during that time they have 225 members. Right now they shrink the committee from 12 to 8.
But still,
still not enough member. Only 113. And also, if some people just quit, we just discuss about that. 4 or 5 people can make a decision about the important policy. So it's kind of not really good for the system, the future long-term development.
Yeah.
So I think even the committee members say about this, say, okay, the kind of size of legislative yuan 113 is just not enough.
Yeah.
Especially for the kind of supervise bills, kind of review the bills. You really need to have more people to sit over there.
But with the downsides of the legislature, some people think that individual lawmakers would be more powerful and influential. Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, individuals, especially for kind of some special interest, heavy loaded area like economic policy in economic committee. Some legislators, if they really interested in certain policy, they are quite dominant, influential. That's a problem. But you know, the problem is not only inside, you know, DPP have several members in each committee. Yeah, they serve some role to check if certain legislator really so dominant to serve certain interest. DPP may play a role, but the people talking about kind of outside watch of the Congress, like Parliament performance. But for both sides, I heard today, they don't think the outsider, inside the Parliament, really know how to watch or to supervise.
So you think self-discipline is more important than the outside?
Self-discipline, you know, for our political science, we just don't want to talking about self-discipline. We want to have institutions to constrain the behavior. I think the kind of party politics, especially a more balanced two-party system or more parties, still better than a one-party dominance.
Yeah, that's right.
So we have to, I think in the future, maybe we need to give more help to the DPP to grow up bigger. Yeah.
In addition to domestic politics, I think most people are now very concerned about the future prospects of cross-strait politics. And President Ma addressed a lot in his speech about how to manage and to deal with the cross-strait interaction. So when we come back, we will talk about how to observe the progress and the prospects for Taiwan's cross-strait relations with the other side of Taiwan Strait. So stay with us. We'll be right back.